Ellis.
All right, thank you. Well, believe me, I apologize for being tardy, but I had some people over on the east side that wanted to raise some money for me this morning, so I went over there to collect some checks so that we could run the best campaign that we possibly can, realizing that money is not everything.
This is for you, sir.
But it does help. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I need.
There you go.
Some
lemon. Well, what I'm excited about is a few things. One,
well, let me
yes.
know. We've got people from Macon, we've got people from Warner Robins,
okay.
We've got people from Atlanta,
Good.
We've got people from England,
great,
from Nova Scotia.
the World Wide Web.
We're on the World Wide Web. Right now we have
Macon.
over 54 people online chatting, which means you're going to get questions left and right. Some of these guys are Maconites.
No problem. No
One of
problem.
them
Wherever
is-
they are in the world. I think globally, but I act locally.
Yeah.
So wherever you are in the world,
Exactly.
good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, especially in Nova Scotia. If you're up in Nova Scotia, one of my favorite places in the
Really?
entire world is Nova Scotia and Canada up there. I've been there several times, and I.
Well, maybe we can make a Nova Macon.
Oh, why not? Make
Nova
a sister
Macon.
city,
Nuevo
a
Macon.
sister city with Halifax. How about that? Up in Nova Scotia. Yes.
Well, I'm excited about a program. I was watching Mix in the Morning this morning, and I saw you on, and you were explaining your program on poverty. And I just want to kick off with that because I think it's important that people realize this man has a plan to really get Macon going off its crutches and to start to walk on its own. And so that's what I see. A sick city that now needs to get off its crutches and needs to start to walk on its own. Mr. Mayor, please.
I think
Tell us a little bit about your poverty plan.
you have framed that debate the way it should be framed. We do have sickness in our community, and I mean that metaphorically. Of course, we do have a lot of sick people, and our hearts go out to all of the sick people who are in need of health care and cannot afford health care because they don't have the money to get health care. And at the same time, the Republicans in this state have opted out of the Affordable Health Care Act, better known as Obamacare. So that means we're going to have more sick people showing up at the steps of our emergency room, which is going to cost us more money. It costs more money to go to the emergency room than it does to go to a doctor early on. So that's just one aspect of poverty. But the real aspect of poverty are children. Approximately 40% of children of color in Bibb County live in poverty under the age of 18. 40%. That is extremely too high. We can ill afford to have our children living like that. But secondly, it doesn't bode well for the overall economic vitality or the economic future of our city if we have so many of our children and so many of our people struggling on a day-to-day basis just to put food in their mouth and shelter over their heads. And once they do that, they're completely broke. They don't have any time for any type of recreation. They don't have any money for any for their health care and things of that nature. So we should all be concerned about that because it affects the overall community. And as I've said to the business community in my meeting with them, you especially should be concerned about this because the more money people have in their pockets, the more money they spend.
That makes sense.
And you are the recipient of this money because consumers do what? Consumers consume. Our economy is based on that. It's a consumer-driven economy. That's why in Macon right now, because people have so little expendable income or disposable income, that we have only increased our unemployment rate over the last 7 years by 0.5%. Less than 1% have we had job growth in Macon and Bibb County. But by the same token, we have had people falling out of the middle class, falling into poverty, and those who are already in poverty are falling deeper into poverty. So therefore, we have 38%. I said of the children, said 38,
Right.
48% of the children. 38% of all of our working people in Macon and Bibb County, 38% earns less than $25,000 a year.
Yeah, we
Right.
Earn less than $25,000 a year. That is not after taxes. That's before taxes. That's before you pay your health insurance. That is before you do anything, before you pay your Social Security, before you do anything else. So therefore, you're probably bringing home about $18,000, maybe $20,000 a year if you're lucky with a family of 4, and we know that get people in poverty. But what do we do about it? Number one, we make sure we have good nutrition programs for our children in the schools. The federal government takes care of that during the school year. Mm-hmm. But what about in the summertime? Mm-hmm. What do we do with our children in the summertime? We have very organized, very constructive summer youth programs where children would come in, those who can't afford to go to Disney World and can't afford to go to Panama City Beach and can't fly out to Europe or wherever rich people go, that we still take those children and have a safe environment for them, a learning environment, and an environment where they can have wholesome meals, because a study was just conducted in Macon. They call it the competitive assessment study. And it in there pointed out, which I was already aware of this, I didn't need to read that study to know what's going on in Macon. I know what's going on in Macon. I didn't need to read about the Pine-Honor corridor and Macon in the Mirror to know what's going on in Unionville. I grew up in Unionville. I know what's going on in Unionville. But my point is that these children, it pointed out in this study, that but for the lunches that these children, the breakfasts and lunches that they get in school during the school year, a lot of them would go hungry. Mm-hmm. So then what are they doing in the summertime, the 3 months that they're down in school, when they're on spring break? I think we have to have that safety net for them on a year-round basis, because we understand. We can't decry the high dropout rate on the one hand and be satisfied with children living in poverty and hungry on the other hand, because we know that nutrition is so important in the formative years of the brain development and your learning ability. So therefore, we have to focus on this thing holistically. We must help our families, help a lot of the single women where we are located right now. Where we are located in South Macon, we have as our somebody's ringing my phone. I thought it had been turned off there, but
they want you in there now.
Yeah, that's right. I'm on my way. Hold.
Well, I want this is wonderful that we're talking about this, because these are the things that matter most to the survival of Macon, Georgia. Really, it's not so much the pretty buildings and all of that. Even some of the businesses that are downtown are really not a broad scope of what could be accomplished in downtown Macon and throughout Macon. Am I right?
You're absolutely
not just restaurants and bars, but what about some graphic artists or some technicians, or what about a school for people who know how to build cars and make cars or whatever? We need a more diverse plan, and of course, as you know, right now it's so important that you not only finish school, but that you have a skill that is going to be portable, so that people will want to invest in you to work for them. And so I think that your plan at starting at a very young age, starting with the basics, a good breakfast, a good lunch, and of course making sure that they have a good meal, because we all need to eat.
Yeah.
And when you're hungry, are you thinking? I'm not thinking. All I'm thinking is about that I'm hungry.
Yes, exactly. And good prenatal care, it's very critical. And that's why it was so important. Say what you want about the Affordable Health Care Act, or Obamacare as people call it. Say what you will about it, but we know that a lot of our people depend on Medicaid and Medicare. Our seniors depend on Medicare and Medicaid in order for their health care. So if in the absence of it, my question to the Republicans, then what? What do you have in its place? Are you willing to sacrifice senior citizens who need, poor senior citizens? They get Medicare, but there's a 20% gap between Medicare, and what you have to pay when you go see a doctor. They only pay 80%. So the question is, where does a senior citizen on a fixed income drawing $1,000 a month on Social Security, where do they get that 20% to pay for their health care when they go visit a doctor? No one has come up with an answer. The same thing with young children. We know that prenatal care is very important. for a child. We know that early immunization and all the other things that must do for a well baby, in order for this child to grow and be productive, they must go to the doctor. They must have access to health care. But now, where do they get it from? How do they pay for it if they don't have any money and you're turning your back on the Affordable Health Care Act? So we have to be very clear about this thing, how it is impacting our children, our future generation. Are we going to continue to be a community that has 40% of its children living, 48% of its children living in poverty? Or are we going to rise above that? We will have the safety net for those, but what do we do to educate our children, our youth, so that they can participate in the workplace? And then once we get them ready to participate in the workplace, what do we do about going out bringing jobs in here so people will have jobs? They don't have to leave Macon to go to Atlanta or go to elsewhere in order to make a living for themselves. And are they able to go to college? Did they get a quality education, either to go on to college or post-secondary education, be it technical schools or what have you, or the military, or just go to work? Have we prepared our students for a lifelong success in the workplace or in universities or colleges or technical schools? That's the question we must ask ourselves.
Well, we have a question for you from one of our viewers, and we're going to start that a little bit. ATT says, Honorable Ellis, you have said one thing about bringing jobs back to Macon, Georgia. Do you have any plan to bring jobs back to Macon?
We do.
Can I
Oh, hold on.
We have a question I would like to ask. I would like to be respectful of the person who asked the question. That's a very good question, because we must have a plan, and I do have a plan. Number one, it's not something that one man does or one person does. We work collaboratively with the Chamber of Commerce, with the Industrial Authority, with the Urban Development Authority, but a plan must be put forth to them as to how we implement it. And one plan, we have to look at the new industries. The old industries are gone. We're not going to make cigarettes in Macon, Georgia anymore. No more than we're going to make Levi jeans as we did in this town. Those are gone. We're not going to make biscuits and cookies at Keebler's. Those industries are gone. What we have to do is look at opportunities in new industries, the green industries, the green technology. Solar energy is a big part of what we ought to look at. We have 289 days, I'm told, of sunshine in Macon, Georgia. Yet, I don't see one solar field in Macon, not one solar farm, whereas that we can harness this energy. We can sell it to our citizens, creating jobs, creating more money for the government to even do even more things, to give incentives for businesses to locate here. Right. But we're going to have to go out and look for those niches. And for last, and definitely not least, we've got to find a way to create more small businesses. Small businesses, we all know, are the backbone of our economy.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's good to have the big companies, but if we can give Bass Pro Shop, and I signed off on that when I was in office. They promised 300 plus jobs there. $30 million tax abatement over 30 years. $30 million, maybe over 20 years, I'm not mistaken, but anyway, it was a $30 million tax abatement or an incentive package worth $30 million. Just supposing we took that same $30 million of taxpayers' money, put it in a revolving fund where small businesses could tap into it and say, you can get X amount of dollars, a couple $1 million, whatever it takes, you get it started up, if you will agree to hire at least 10 people. Well, if we get 50 small businesses doing that, we have created more jobs than Bass Pro Shop has created, and probably at the same level of pay. So small business development is a big part of it, especially in underserved areas like the Houston Avenue corridor, like the Eisenhower corridor, where we have all the vacant buildings where Home Depot used to be, Walmart used to be, that entire Westgate area there.
Yes.
There are ways that we can put incubators in there with small businesses to bring that area back to life. And as we grow the economy, more people want to move to Macon, but no one want to move to Macon when the economy is dying. They're going to continue to move out of the city.
And crime is up.
And crime is up. We got to get crime down, no question about it. But if we do some of these things on the front end, as I spoke about earlier with our children, we'll be able to prevent crime. Crime is a learned behavior. Criminal behavior, you're not born a criminal. No one I know is born a criminal. No one group has a higher propensity to commit crime than others. It is a learned behavior. It's conditions of your environment and so forth. So if we can change the condition, change mindsets, change the way of thinking, let people know that there is hope, there is a future for them, and they'll be less likely to commit crime. We can keep them in school and let them graduate. And most people who graduate from high school, if you look at the crime statistics, they don't commit crime. Most of the people incarcerated, they have an 8th or 9th grade education on paper, but they're reading at a 3rd and 4th grade level. That means that we have failed them. We failed them early on in life. We allowed them to fail, but we failed them. There's something we can do about it, and we will do something about it. When you elect me as mayor, we will work up with the entire community. I don't have a monopoly on all the ideas. I want to convene a summit in the city. Let everybody come and bring their ideas to the table. Maybe at the Centralplex. Put a big screen up. Every idea that you have, put it up there in black and white. Okay, this is your idea. And then we whittle them down until we get to some things that's really doable, that's really workable, that can be implemented. So I need everybody's input. I need your help.
I like that. And then Ed, and we're going to go to another question.
I transferred here with First Data when they took over GE, Cautionville Grass Post Office. And I'm sure you know GE bought that land at pennies on the dollar. Mm-hmm. Of course, the buildings are still empty. I know First Data was sold, but I mean, I know that was one of the incentives to get GE to bring that facility here, and that we had 350 people working.
Yeah, but they're gone now.
Yeah,
right.
They're gone because of other competitive advantages that other cities gave. A lot of people don't want to. We are in the 11th percentile, Bibb County. We are in the 11th percentile of the poorest counties in America. That means that 89% of all of the counties in the U.S. are doing better than we are doing. We can do better than that, given our location, given our proximity to Atlanta, given our geographic location, the center of the state. We should not have what we have now. I keep hearing the current mayor say, we had the worst recession. The recession ended in 2009, Mr. Mayor, officially. But yet, during your administration, from 2007 until now, end of 2007 when you took office, until 2013, we have had a meager 0.5% job growth. And you keep saying about how many jobs you brought here. Where are the jobs?
Yeah.
Show me the jobs. As they say in the movie, show me the money. Show me the jobs. There aren't any jobs that have been created. What we have had is an out-migration of jobs. Now, those making more than $100,000 a year, we have seen their income increase by 4%. Those making less than $40,000 a year, we have seen their income decrease a whopping 17%, equivalent to about $2,700 a year that they have lost in their purchasing power. That's the problem that we have, Mr. Mayor, and you haven't addressed it. You haven't addressed it at all. You've only cared about your rich friends, the country club out there, to the extent that you would have the audacity, you would have the nerve to have the city taxpayers to pay for your membership fee in a country club that until 5 years ago did not even allow a person of color to join. Shame on you, Mr. Mayor. Shame on you.
There you go.
I
love this.
Yeah. Mr. Wildcat had a question. He said, I like the idea of decriminalizing some victimless offenses because it will remove stumbling blocks for those who have not hurt anyone from getting a job.
Exactly.
What if he asks, what type of offenses are you thinking of decriminalizing?
Well, one would be marijuana, simple marijuana possession. We know, I'm not advocating our children to smoke marijuana because scientifically, we know that until the brain is developed, which is age 21, 22 in a male, before the brain is completely developed. Excuse me?
It said up to 25 according to some doctors.
Yeah, some doctors, but actually 20, when you get out of college, 22, normally your brain has been completely developed. So we're not advocating children because we know the effect that marijuana will have on the brain in young children. But we are saying that even if a young child of 18 years of age caught with one stick of marijuana, because I was 18, once. And we all were. I was in Vietnam. My God, if everybody in Vietnam had been put in jail or given a criminal record for smoking marijuana, the war would have been over a long time ago. But what I'm saying is that I'm not advocating legalizing, but there are states, and if this same young man moved to Denver, Colorado, or Washington State, or New Jersey, or elsewhere, he would not have a criminal record. But because he's caught with one little stick of marijuana in Macon, Georgia, he's arrested. He's given a record, and it takes a long time to overcome that. So we have to think sensibly with this, how we are enforcing laws here, and how we are making criminals out of non-criminals, and we're making them unemployable for a very, very long time. So we've got to get a handle on this thing. That is just one. But then there are other victimless crimes, petty crimes. We're not saying that people should have the right to go in your house and take stuff and kill you and shoot you and rob you and rape you and all that stuff. Those people, we should have a place for them. It's called jail, and that's where they ought to stay.
Yes.
But for because a mother was hungry, I'm not advocating stealing, but a mother was hungry and could not afford food for her child. She went in the supermarket and she tried to get away with stealing the box of grits rather than paying for it. You know, give some community service. Get in a program where try to help her find a job or something, rather than criminalizing her. Now she will never be able to find a job to take care of those kids. Now she's forced to do illegal things. That's all I'm saying about that situation.
Yeah, it's smart, it's sensible. It makes sense. You got to work with
you know how many companies have been started because of legalization of marijuana?
I know.
To make items to grow it.
I know it. I know exactly. So what I'm saying, I'm no goody two-shoe. You know, I was born and raised in South Macon in Bloomfield.
Yeah.
I entered the Army at a very early age. I was in Vietnam when I was 21 years of age, leading young men in combat. And I know a lot of them smoke marijuana. I know it. And let me tell you something. I'm not like Clinton. I did inhale. But what I'm saying, that was then. So I'm glad my career wasn't affected. I was able to retire from the military with a decent pension.
Yes,
and still have my health care and so forth.
And be the mayor of Macon, Georgia twice.
To be the mayor of Macon, Georgia twice, and it didn't affect my ability to lead. But I had some fuddy-duddy, Mr. Know-It-All, Mr. Goody-Two-Shoe, could have destroyed my entire life. So we can't, even President Obama, in his book, Dreams of My Father, he speaks about how he smoked marijuana as a college kid and as a young. We all do crazy things when we're young, do things that we don't do when we are 40 and 50 and 60. But we don't destroy the lives of people early on just because they had some what we call a youthful indiscretion.
Right.
Yes.
Well, somebody once said, "Thank you for serving in the Army, sir. I'm a fellow Army combat vet."
Well, thank you for your service as well. Now read the book now. There's a new book out called Thanks for Your Service. You know, everybody say thank you for your service, but the VA, if you read what's happening with veterans right now throughout this country, we are not thanking them very much. The system is clogged up. People are having to wait a year after they apply for their compensation.
We have a lot of veterans here,
a lot in this region, a lot of veterans. That's why when I was mayor, even before I was mayor, I'm the one that advocated to open a vet clinic here. We didn't have a veterans clinic, the one out on Thomas Road. We didn't have that early on. I went to J. Roy Rowland at the time, who's our congressman, a Democrat, 8th Congressional District from Dublin, and I told him, look, we need a veterans clinic. He said, well, what about Dublin? We got I said, everybody can't go from Macon to Dublin. That's a long way. That's 55 miles. What about open? And we got that one open out on Thomason Road. Well, it was elsewhere. Then we moved to Thomason Road. But we didn't go as far as I wanted them to go. I wanted them to partner with Mercer University.
Yeah.
Partner with the medical school and the medical center so that the doctors from the medical center and the medical school could provide the care here that we have to go to Dublin and get, because it's not a new phenomenon. The University of Florida does it in Gainesville. They do it in Washington. They do it elsewhere. So what we have to do is be proactive here and do likewise. So take care of our veterans, because we're not doing a very good job. I'm a partially disabled veteran myself, and I have to access that healthcare system, and I know how bureaucratic it can be. and I'm very knowledgeable. Just think of a person that's not knowledgeable,
Yes.
and how they get through this system. It can be a turnoff. It can be frustrating. And that's why in Atlanta last year, a young man committed suicide in the lobby of the VA hospital in Atlanta because he was so frustrated the runaround that he had been given after he came back from Afghanistan, as to how just the difficulty in getting an appointment to see a doctor because the list is so long. So we have to look at better ways to take care of our veterans. So when we say thank you for your service, we mean it by action. We back it up by action, not just some hollow term that everybody likes to say. Thanks for your service. They go about their business and don't provide the care that these veterans
And
need,
really
including myself. They
By
don't
the way,
care.
Mr. Ellis, Muhammad Hussein asks, what is Mayor Ellis going to do with those summertime children? What do you mean by that, first of all, Hussein? If you could clarify
I think what he means is that when I was in office, we had a very, very aggressive summer youth employment program. The last year I was in office, we employed 1,000 children. Minimum wage, we paid them. We would assign them to various entities throughout the country, throughout the city, both in government and in the private sector. And we would give them work experience. They were able to make enough money that they could buy their own school clothes, their own school supplies. They didn't have to depend on their parents, which would free up money that parents could be able to do other things for their children that were less in their families, that weren't able to earn money. But in addition to that, we would create a work ethic. We were instilling how to work in these children, how to be on time, how to be responsible, how to get along with others, how to get things done, how to lead in certain instances. So we want to do that again. This past year, we had 1,000 when last year I was in office. This past summer, there were 50 children in that program. 50. Allows it 50. Now, thank God for those 50, but it didn't have to be that way. It could have been much, much more.
Could have been at least 100 or so.
And should have been well over. It should have been thousands. All you have to do is go and get the money from where the money is. The money is in the federal government for job training for young people. And I was able to get it by creating relationships in Washington with people. And I still have those contacts. I used to work for the Obama campaign, for President Obama. I know him personally. When I say personally, I write him, he writes me back. If I make a phone call into the White House, eventually I get a phone call back. I spoke to him recently about this health care as to how I could help promote making sure our congressman down here, Scott, signed on. But I told him that was a lost cause. He was a Tea Partier, and he's never going to do anything that you want to do, Mr. President, so you forget about him. Your best bet is Sanford Bishop. He said Sanford is already on board. I said, well, that's the best you're going to get from the middle Georgia area. It's Sanford Bishop. Scott is not going. Yeah, that's just the way it is. We have to be real about what we're up against. We're up against a bunch of obstructionists that all they care about is seeing our president fail. This president, they want to see him fail. Yeah. They don't want to see his signature piece of legislation get implemented and be successful. That's all it is. And the thing about it, who are they hurting? They're hurting poor people, senior citizens, and other people who are in need of health care. That's who's hurting. And now we laying people off that can ill afford to be laid off and not drawing paychecks. So people making $40,000, $50,000 a year, laying them off while Congress continue to get their paycheck. So it's just wrong. It is low down and dirty, morally wrong, and it's almost sinful.
Well, we got too much saying. I don't like too many politicians, but I like this guy. I'd vote for him.
Well, thank you. I wish you were here in Macon. If you are here in Macon, please vote for me. We do what we say. We don't say one thing and do another. With me, you get exactly what you see. You know, I'm that kind of guy. You know, I grew up poor, with some loving parents, with some caring teachers, and with God Almighty's help. I was able to overcome a lot. I was able to overcome odds stacked against me. I'm one of 13 children. My father was a sharecropper when I grew up. The Army was my salvation. Well, my parents early on because of what they did in the school. But as far as career, I joined the Army at a very early age, spent 21 years there, was able to get a college degree while I was in the Army, served in Vietnam, wounded. They said one time I would probably bleed to death because of the amount of blood that I had lost and before the helicopter. But so I've overcome some great odds, and so it's all about service for me. It's not about running for mayor to get the pay that they pay. It's not about that. I'm going to be okay. I'm a retired Army Master Sergeant. I get my Social Security. I'm a 75% disabled veteran. I get compensation for that. I've invested some money that I reaping those. So it's not about the money for me. I'm going to be all right. But what about the other people in the community? What about them? If it was only about me, I would be living on the island of St. Croix, where I just sold a condo, and sailing, where I sold my sailboat. That's where I would be living out the rest of my life. But it's not about me. It's about every child, every boy and girl in this community, to make sure that they have an opportunity to enjoy some of the success that I have enjoyed in my life.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I have another question. This one's important because we've had these issues before. You were in great support, showed a lot of good support for what had happened here with the police. Mr. Mayor, what would you do to improve the relationship between the people and the police? There seems to be an us against them atmosphere, no?
It has been, and that's very unfortunate. When I was in office, I brought in the deputy chief of police from Washington, D.C., Rodney Monroe, and told him I wanted to implement community police, and I want to have a friendly relationship with the citizens. We don't want to see that. I don't want the police seen as an occupying force in the community. I want them to see it as to really protect and serve. I know we see it on the cars, but do we really mean it? Because we've had too much police intimidation, we've had too much police brutality, and indeed, we've had a police officer to murder, and I call it murder, murdered an innocent man that did not even, an unarmed man, that he didn't have to murder. He had the training that he could have shot him in the leg. He could have moved away from him. He know he didn't have a weapon. He could see that he didn't have a weapon. So it's that type of attitude. But when you have a culture within a department, and I'm not saying all police officers are bad, because they're not, but we have a couple of real bad apples, stealing stuff, abusing people, and we have to deal with it forthrightly. And going forward, as you know, in this new government, the mayor doesn't have any authority over the chief law enforcement official. That has all been transferred to the sheriff. So I want to work with the sheriff to make sure that we have a culture where all citizens will be treated with dignity and respect, and that everyone is truly innocent until proven guilty. We're not going to be knocking people's head. We're not going to be kicking people's doors in at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. There's no knock nonsense. Putting our officers at risk as well as the people in the house. We can do better than that. We don't have to do that to enforce the laws in our city. We can be humane. We can be tough. But yet we can be considerate of the rights of all of our people that's guaranteed under our Constitution.
This may be I guess it'll probably be a rhetorical question, but as a Vietnam veteran and as a person who just finished his PAT for the Sheriff's Department myself yesterday, what are your views on, I guess, Second Amendment?
I'm all for the right to own an arm, on a gun, not an assault rifle. We don't hunt with AK-47s. We don't need AK-47s in our arsenal. But as far as having a weapon to protect your home, a weapon to go hunting, I'm a hunter. I grew up on a farm. So I had a rifle I was 12 years old. My father taught me, maybe even earlier than that, I was taught how I went hunting with my father. We used to hunt rabbits, not just for a hobby, but to eat. And we would hunt raccoons, and we would hunt squirrels, and never went deer hunting because I never had that large of a rifle. But so I understand guns. I understand guns. I was a paratrooper. I was a rifleman. That was my job in the Army. I was 11 Bravo. Those of you who were in the military, you know what that is. We call it 11 Bang Bang. We were the ones on the front line. So I understand guns, all kind of guns. I taught, but so I don't have a problem with guns. But I have a problem with civilians having assault rifles.
Yes.
I have a problem with all of these weapons being sold without us knowing who they're being sold to, without background checks. I do have problems with that.
See, this is what I love about you, Jack. You're a common sense mayor. You are. You just bring it down to common sense. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But you know what? I'm not a big Second Amendment fan because I really feel it's unnecessary. But to some people, they think otherwise. The fact that you would say what you just said, that's the extreme to what people want gun rights for. That they're allowed to buy bazookas and these killer guns and all that. That needs to be in the military.
Exactly. It's the military or the police.
Trained
That's where.
people.
Those are the only people.
What about a license for a gun?
Well, a license for a gun, I think you should have to get a license to carry a gun. I think it should be a background check. We noticed with the advent of all these shootings going on, we noticed that a lot of the people are mentally deranged. And maybe if we do the background checks as we should, we'll be able to detect some of that. But it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any sense if you go to a legal gun store to buy a weapon and you have to have a background check, and then we as a city are giving you a license to have a gun show in the Centroplex, and you can just walk up and buy one without a background check. Well, then if you're a criminal, or if you're a person that know you're going to get caught in the other one, you just wait till the gun show come to town and go there and buy one. So that's what we have to do. We have to close these loopholes and shut down these gun shows. When I say shut them down, make sure that if you buy a weapon there, you too will have to have a background check there in order to get a
Mr. Ellis, now also there's a question of mental illness and having a gun with mental illness.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, having mental illness has another stigma to it, which you saw come up during the
Junebug. Here's a man that had some mental issues. All of a sudden
it was like, well, it was justified because he was a nutcase. Anyway, in a sense, that's what people were saying.
Yeah. That's crazy thinking.
Meanwhile, he didn't even have a gun.
Yeah.
But this very
he didn't
thing,
even have a gun.
I mean, whether were you talking about Junebug or Trayvon Martin or even Oscar Grant over in Oakland, California, the thing that's still, I'm still trying to wrap around is how does a person who is unarmed provoke or can intimidate an armed person?
And they declare it justifiable by the fact that he had a mental illness anyway.
You know, even in
war,
you don't kill unarmed people. If a guy throws his hands up and you see he's surrendered, you don't shoot him. You take him as a prisoner. I mean, even in war, the code of conduct. The Geneva Convention and the Army and in wars would treat you that. So why should we expect anything less, or why should we accept anything less on our streets, that you can just willy-nilly shoot somebody because you thought they represented a threat to you, and even though they didn't have a weapon, you saw that they didn't have a weapon, that you could still shoot them and get away with it. That is nonsense to me, and we got to put that type of, it's just that type of mean spirit and that type of attitude must be put to rest in this city and indeed throughout our nation.
Yes, and so many things we can talk about, Mr. Mayor. And now we talked about business, we talked about schools and children, we talked about guns. And what are your plans for the first 100 days, in a nutshell? 3 points.
3
points. You want to accomplish in your first 100 days as the mayor of Macon Bibb County.
You know, I hear that a lot. People say about the first 100 days. 100 days, obviously, that's kind of symbolic, but it's not what you do in the first 100 days. It's the results that you get sometimes beyond. Mm-hmm. But the first thing you do, obviously, you put yourself together the best staff that you can put together, competent people who have passion and compassion for what you want to do. Make sure they're competent to do it and they're loyal. That's the first thing you do. Then the next thing you do, you assemble your staff, or you assemble the community at large, as I was saying, get everybody together, come up with a strategic plan as what will guide us over. You just don't run out and start doing things. You must have a plan, something to guide you as you go forward. Put together our strategic plan. But things that we have to attack right away is joblessness. We've got to get jobs for people. So everything we do will lead to that. We've got to get rid of substandard houses in the community. So we'll work hard to have the strongest ordinances that we can to get rid of these dilapidated houses, make sure that slumlords are fixing their homes if they're going to rent them to people. If not, we're going to condemn them and shut them down and find other ways to house our citizens. We got to do that. And we just going to make sure that we have a clean community, clean up the community, clean up our sidewalks, clean up our right-of-ways and things of that nature. And then the big ticket items we can deal with in terms of going out, making sure that we match skill sets with employers and employees so that we can bring jobs in here. So everything that we do, the first 100 days, the first 10 days, the first day, the first year, everything else, creating jobs, getting people out of poverty, expanding the economic base in our community will be at the center of it. The center of my thinking. One thing that I used to ask myself when I was in office every day, What did I do today? And I ask my staff to ask themselves the same question. What did we do today to improve the lives of our citizens,
Yes.
or to improve the conditions of our city? What did we do? Did it have any impact on improving the lives of people or improving the conditions of our city? And if we didn't do anything that would impact both of those, then we are not doing our jobs. So that's what we want to focus on every day, each and every day that we go to work.
Why don't you tell our audience why they should vote for you, Mr. Mayor?
Well, let me thank you very much for this opportunity. Obviously, I'm one with the most experience. I have the compassion and passion for this city. Born and raised in this city. I overcome a lot of odds. Born during the Jim Crow period of Macon. Was able to overcome that. But we must look forward with hope and not back with bitterness. So I'm looking forward. So I want to work with each and every person in this community to make this a better place for all of us to live. You should vote for me because of my commitment, because of my dedication, because of my loyalty to you, each and every citizen in this community, and because of my leadership ability and my know-how to get things done. And based on my record as well, if you look at what we accomplished when I was in office before for 8 years, when I ran in 1999, I asked people to catch the vision. They said, what is the vision? The vision was a city that works, a city, a livable city. And we did those things. We converted Oglethorpe Homes into a crime-ridden, poverty-stricken area into a mixed-income community, and the community around it, commonly known as Bills Hill. We did some similar things in Tender Heights area, where along Richard Pillman Boulevard. Got rid of all those dilapidated, substandard, those houses weren't fit for human habitation. We were able to get rid of them, bring in first-time home buyers, disperse our poverty throughout the community. I said we would build a convention center hotel at our Centroplex. We got that done. I said we would get people standing in the rain and the cold down in Central City Park to get a driver's license, because that same place was there when I was 16, and I'm 67 years of age. That same place where I got my driver's license at 16 was existing when I came in office. We committed ourselves to taking care of it. We did. We said we would take care of our bus riders, that we would expand bus services, that we would move our bus riders from Poplar Street into a climate-controlled area at the terminus station. We did that by purchasing the terminus station and turning it into a multimodal facility. So our record is clear, what we were able to accomplish, how many children we were able to give summer youth program, how many children we were able to engage on a year-round basis, what we did with after-school programs with our faith community, how many people we were able to move from welfare to work. Those, you can go back and check the records there. But elections are about the future. We still have a lot of work to do in our community. Poverty is too high, crime is too high, too many dilapidated houses, the city is filthy. We've got to get jobs for our people. So that's why you should vote for me, because I know how to get things done. I'm a mayor of action, unlike this do-nothing mayor that we have in office now, who've only talked and not haven't accomplished. I can't point to one thing physically that I can point to, other than him laying people off, and he said, I managed the budget. Well, it's easy to manage a budget when you're willing to sacrifice several dozens of low-income employees, when you're able to just lay them off and say, I balanced the budget. That's not leadership. Leadership is when you find ways to be inclusive, that you can bring everybody together and everybody sacrifice. Leadership is not when you lay people off and you'll get in the city to pay your country club dues. That's not leadership. That's leading from behind. That means that you're putting your priorities ahead of the priorities of the people, and the people should always have priority. One thing that I learned in the military, even in combat, when they brought hot food out to us, we were in the boonies, been out there I was a platoon sergeant, we've been out there maybe 30 days, and we've been eating sea ration, maybe we'll finally get a hot meal they were bringing out, what we call the Mermite cans. I was always, as the platoon leader, I would be the last one to eat. The very last one, not the first, the last one. If anybody was going to be hungry, it would be me. This mayor's doing just the opposite. He's taking care of his fat cat friends. He's paying his country club dues. He's paying his legal fees out of the city funds while he's laying people off. That's not leadership. That's not what you get when you get Jack Ellis for mayor. You get one who care about everybody, from the lowest man to the wealthiest man. We care about all people, but we're going to definitely work with people who are in need of our help. So I ask for your vote.
Awesome.
I ask for your vote. Early voting starts the 5th, which is tomorrow, the 5th of October. Runs through the 11th. Election day is the 15th. Please, ma'am, please, sir, call your friends, call your neighbors, call everybody. Ask them to please vote C. Jack Ellis for mayor, a mayor for all people. When I win, we all win, so let's win together.
Mr. Mayor, you got my vote.
Thank you so
And
much.
let me ask you, somebody asked, T.L. Wilson, she lives in Warner Robins. She asked, do you endorse any particular candidate for Warner Robins?
And I don't know enough about them to endorse them. I tell you what, I've met Sheen, who is the current mayor. I think he was given a pretty raw deal, if you ask me, what they did to usurp his authority. He ran on one charter, and they basically castrated him, if you will, to use a strong term. So he's now running for the one of the council seats. I know Mr. Lee. I know his brother better than I know him. So, but I don't know them well enough, and I don't have a relationship well enough to concern myself with Warner Robins politics, other than I hope whoever they elect, that they will be able to work with me on a regional basis to accomplish what we need to accomplish in this region, to create more jobs, to have a safer region, and have a region that people will look to with pride. And of course, Macon will always be. And with all respect for Warner Robins, I go out there about once a week. I'm retired. I go use the air base out there. I want it to stay open. But Macon will always be the center city of this urban, of this region. We're the only one with the down. It's just that we're the commercial center. We're the legal center. We are the cultural center. We are the medical center of this region. That's just the way it is, and it will stay that way. Warner Robins will grow, but it will always be the suburbs of Macon. And that's just the way it is. And I applaud them, the success that they have had there in the education system and other things, annexing and doing things of that nature. But they don't think consolidation is that good of a deal. If they did, they would be consolidating. But instead, they have Perry, they have Warner Robins, they have Centerville, they have Kathleen, they have Bonaire, and it works real fine for them. We are consolidated, and hopefully this will work fine for us. But if you know anyone, if you live in Warner Robins, you know people in Macon, please ask them to vote for C. Jack Ellis.
There you go. Honorable Mayor Ellis, how much money and how large of tax exemptions are you willing to give in order to attract a mega large manufacturer?
Well, that depends on what, that become what we call, we're dealing with economies of scales here. If I get someone to say they're going to come in here and provide 400 jobs, good paying jobs, I don't mean wages that people can't live on. But if they're going to provide good paying jobs, then we have to consider the return on our investment. We invest where we get a good return.
Right.
So I don't have a numerical number as to $10,000 per job, but I'm not willing to spend $1 million to create one job. I'm not willing to do that. And some companies, if you look at everything that we're giving away and what we're getting in return, we're not doing the taxpayers a good job, because what some of these companies do, they play cities against one another, like the baseball team, the Atlanta Braves, AAA single A team that was here. They played us against Rome. They went to Rome and said to Rome, Macon we have this team down there. If you build us an $18 million stadium, we'll come here. They come back to me and say, Rome has agreed to build an $18 million stadium to get our team. Are you willing to build an $18 million? Well, no, we're not willing to build an $18 million stadium for a multi-billion-dollar company, AOL Time Warner, that's who owned the Braves at the time. We weren't willing to spend $18 million to keep a single league baseball team here that was averaging 500 customers per game to develop these multi-million-dollar baseball players, while our recreation centers at Freedom Park and the other places had the holes were in the roof and it was raining. Our basketball courts were in very bad shape. If I had $18 million to spend, I was going to spend it on the children in our community and not on a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So we have to decide what our priorities are.
Wow.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I've mentioned this before. One of the city council meeting that being rising that Georgia is the third in movie making industry. There have been a lot of actors, including myself included, who had to commute to Atlanta, to South Carolina and North Carolina and Florida to get jobs to the point where
Right.
the gas price has been so high
sure.
that people ended up commuting there. Is there a way to bring a film studio, maybe somewhere in the Westgate area, like the old Walmart building or the old PetSmart or Westgate Cinemas building, to get more, not just actors but also directors,
production,
writers,
post-production,
makeup people,
take over these big buildings.
What a good question, what a good suggestion. As you recall, I was the one who established the first film commission in Macon, Jack Ellis. I established it because the U.S. Conference of Mayors assigned me I was the committee chair of the Film and Music Committee within the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I was sent to Hollywood to go to the Oscars, I think 2001, 2002, 2003, thereabout. And everybody complained that I went to the Oscars. Why is he going to the Oscars? Well, we went to the Oscars so we could meet movie makers. And because we are the idea, we would make those connections. And I invited scout locators to Macon, Georgia as a result of that trip. They came here, they scouted our town, they said this is the ideal place to make movies. But what the problem we had, all the movies at that time were being made in Canada. Why? Because the tax situation. Canada was not charging any taxes, anything else on the movies, future earnings, whereas the U.S. were. So we went to Congress. I, as the chair of the Film and Music Committee within the U.S. Conference of Mayors, convinced Congress to change the laws, and hence we've been making more movies in the U.S. than we've ever made before. But this was an initiative that was led by yours truly. But it was because the U.S. Conference of Mayors president saw fit to appoint me as the chair of that committee, and that's why I went to the Oscars, and that's why I met these people, and that's why I came back and created the Film and Music Commission, and that's why we have more movies created, being made in Macon, Georgia to this day. So your point, you're right on. Now we must take it to the next level by creating these studios where post-production can take place as well as production, and we can make movies here. Because one thing and it was a compliment, but yet it was a backhand compliment. One of the location scouts that came here, he was downtown, he said, boy, this looks like a movie set.
Yeah, it does.
Downtown Macon looks like a movie set. He said, nobody on the street. We don't have to close streets here to make a movie. And that's good, and it's bad that we don't have people on our streets. So we have work to do in those areas. But there are enough vacant spaces, as you mentioned, at Westgate, some of the other empty spaces that we can have major production houses here.
Well, they agree.
And I like to work
with you.
I like to work with you and others. And I have a relationship with Tyler Perry through Kasim Reed. Kasim Reed, the mayor of Atlanta, and I are very good friends. And I've been to Tyler Perry's house as a guest of Kasim Reed. So I think we can reach out beyond. We have some people in Hollywood, Norm Nixon, Debbie Allen, very good friends of mine. They live in Hollywood. I had a big party at Norm Nixon and Debbie's house, invited some movie people there a few years back. So while I was in office. So there are a lot of things we can do. We must use the contacts and the connections that we have to benefit the overall city.
Yeah, you did a James Brown concert.
I did.
People still remember that.
Yeah.
Anthony remembers that.
Yeah, and it made sense. It made sense. James Brown.
It was free.
Yeah, it was free. It was free. $100,000.
That's what I'm
able to get
about.
the business community, Wachovia Bank, Georgia Power, and others underwrote that. It made sense. James Brown recorded his first song in Macon, Georgia. When he was released from a reform school up at Alto, he got a job in Macon, Georgia, promised a job by a dealership here, E. Raymond Smith, gave him a job washing cars, getting cars ready to be sold, and that's when he met a guy by the name of Big Saul and Hamp Swing, better known as King B, and got them to record his first record at the OWIBB entitled Please, 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 and the rest is history. So therefore we honored him by that, and Little Richard was our very first. Then we brought Little Richard back for a concert as well.
Well, we have a caller coming in from Nevada. This is Donnie Curry. He desperately asked you this question for some reason. He's blowing up my chat on this. He's blowing up my IM. So now he's calling and stalking Mr. Ellis to try to answer this question.
Okay.
Regarding the rights of parents to discipline their kids. Donnie?
You're on the air, Donnie.
Did I hear?
Hello.
All right, well, I guess he's gone. He wants to know, what do you think?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have touched that.
That's all right. Actually,
Donnie, call back. Call back if you
we'll
can.
back.
We had a technical
here's his
difference.
question.
We had a nut behind the
Well, here's
nut.
my question.
I had a nut behind the mic here.
How much control do you think parents should have on disciplining their children?
Yeah,
Well-
what is your position
well,
on
I'm a-
protecting
well, we
parents'
grew up-
rights?
we-
I'm a
got-
wait a
we got
minute.
looked.
Not only when we were growing up, but I'm a parent. I have 5 children, and I discipline all of them, and they appreciate the discipline that I gave them because children are not. Their cognitive skills are not fully developed to make good decisions. So if we don't discipline them, we are allowing them to do crazy things and to hurt themselves. So we have to discipline our children. Now, what type of discipline you give to your children is up to you. Whether you're going to spank them in corporal punishment, or whether you're going to deny them certain benefits and have a timeout, or whatever works for you should work. But yes, you ought to discipline your children. If you don't discipline your children, you're doing them a disservice.
To a limit. There's
Yes.
got to be a limit.
Did you hear that, Donnie? Donnie Curry, Jack Ellis, Donnie Curry.
Hey, Donnie.
You got him on speakerphone?
Donnie?
No, hold on. Sorry. Go ahead, Donnie.
We got you. Yeah, you don't speak.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Donnie. How are you? How are things out in beautiful Las Vegas?
I'm not in Las Vegas. I'm in the
Oh, the northern part of Nevada.
Yeah, I'm in Reno, but
Oh, Reno. I know Reno. I knew your former mayor there in Reno. He was a fine man. He was a Republican, but he was a fine man.
are you talking about Bob Cashel?
Yes.
Yeah, he hasn't changed, and he's still the mayor.
No, the big guy. I think he left being mayor and went to a federal program to run either HUD or something during the Bush administration up in California.
Yeah, well, now he's back, and he's our mayor again. But
Is he? Well, give him my regards. Fun guy. Anyway, what's your question?
my question is this, and I have a few friends that still live. See, my heart is always in Georgia because my dad was born there. But and I was in Macon for probably about 6 months years ago, and one of the things is I built a lot of friendship down there that are parents, and they have the same situation as mine, except here, at least I know for here, the politicians don't ever have a second thought about parents. In our society tells our children that they can be entitled, and it doesn't matter what the parents say. You were talking about disciplining children. Granted, I'm not a Bible thumper per se, but I do believe that the Bible says.
So what's the question, Donnie? Please, just ask the mayor the question. His time is about.
Okay, my question is this: what's your stance on protecting parents from the system that is broke?
I'm a big proponent of parental rights. The parents should have ultimate rights. I think the government should stay out of the rights of parents unless we can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that children are being abused, children are being neglected, and things of that nature. Then I think the government has a role and a responsibility to step in and rescue children from abusive situation. But because a child, as my dad would say, because you're getting your fanny, because you're getting your fanny tan, getting your backside slapped, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I don't think the government has any role to play in that, as long as you're not abusing your child, as long as you're not neglecting your child. And then the government should step in, but other than that, we should stay out of the discipline of children.
There you go. There's a simple, clear answer.
Yeah, and protect the rights of parents. Parents have rights. I have rights. I have rights as a parent. I have the right to, if my daughters are grown now, when they were teenagers or preteens, they couldn't just do what they want to do. I mean, I had rules in my household that they had to abide by, and they thank me for them now. Both of them have master's degrees and finished college, and they have kids of their own now. But had I just let them do what they want to do as teenagers, my God, who knows what would have happened to them,
Definitely caught it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mr. Mayor, you are awesome. You are an awesome individual, a great man, good thinker. You've got a plan for our city, to save our city from within at the beginning, where it's important, I believe, more than just cosmetic, you really want to get in there and do the real surgery.
That's what we have to do.
Make the shitty heal.
That's what we have to do. We've got to roll our sleeves up. We have some heavy lifting to do in this city.
Dr. Ellis.
We have some heavy lifting to do. It's not going to be easy. This is hard work. Like I said, the amount of poverty that we have here, the amount of hopelessness that we have, the amount of teen parents that we have, the amount of dropout rates that we have, the amount of incarceration that we have in our town. It's not the ingredients of a prosperous city. Yeah. It's not the ingredients of a city that's moving to take its rightful place in the 21st century. And we have to do something about the hate in our city. The racial divide we are still fighting the Civil War here, man. We have never had this reconciliation that we should have had hundreds of years ago. We had Reconstruction, but we've never had racial reconciliation. Wow. And that's what we've got. Just as Nelson Mandela, when he came out of jail after 27 years being incarcerated because he wanted to do something dumb and stupid like the right to vote, but still denied that opportunity by the white minority in South Africa. When he got out of jail, he didn't say, let's go kill him. He said, let's sit down and have reconciliation. He formed a reconciliation committee where everybody would bring to the table their faults, their warts, and everything else. Let's get it out. Let's build the new South Africa where everybody can participate. And South Africa is a much better country today than it was when it was living under apartheid. Yeah. I was there both during apartheid and post-apartheid, and I will assure you it's a better country. And people are trying to go back, but we have people here trying to go back to the 50s and 60s, talking about the good old days of the 50s and 60s. Well, the good old days in the 50s and 60s were bad old days for me, and people like me, and people like me in Macon and Bibb County. So we don't want to go back. We want to go forward, but we don't look back with bitterness. We look forward with hope, and that's what we're moving. We're moving with hope. Keep hope alive, as Reverend Jesse Jackson would say.
Why don't you, if you may, sir, indulge me and do me a favor. Talk to Mayor Rickett and tell him, does he have the guts to debate you and to show up on this show like you did, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I would like to ask Robert Rickett a personal question, and not a personal question, a public question. That is, why would you deny the citizens of this opportunity? The citizens, why would you deny them an opportunity to hear your platform, unedited, unfiltered, and just straight from your heart? Why you think that you have to communicate through a 30-second commercial where you can lie, you can say whatever you want, no one can challenge it, we don't have fact checks. You can stand up and say in a commercial, I created hundreds of jobs. Well, show me. Where are the hundreds of jobs that you created? You're lying. You're lying to the people. Why would you not come before the people using every medium, using the internet, using whatever it is that we have, TV, radio, and debate the issues? You're not talking to some also-ran here. You're talking to a former two-term mayor. I can understand if you say...
The first African mayor ever elected in Macon, Georgia, period. You made history.
First and only, and you can't take that away. But we didn't run to make history. We ran to make a difference, and I think we made a difference. But what I would say back to you is, what are you hiding from? Why wouldn't you debate? I can see if I was some loose cannon running around here, wasn't even on the ballot. But I'm on the ballot. I just got 11,000 votes. And I'm a two-term mayor that served, my second term got 71% of the vote. So why wouldn't you stand toe-to-toe with me and debate the issues? If you're a coward, say you're a coward. But if not, stand before the people and debate the issues and let the people decide who has the best vision, who has the best plan, who has the passion, who has the compassion, and who has the better leadership ability to lead our city. That's you owe that to the people of this city.
That's right.
No question about it.
And I'm sure that Mr. Rickett, you're more than welcome to please come and
we welcome all.
Speak your mind. We hope that you would be humble enough. I mean, humility is one of the big deals that we have a lack thereof here in Macon. But it was so humble of Jack Ellis to once again, this is not his first. But he sat down in the morning rush twice.
Yeah. Twice.
And we're always so grateful to have you here.
But people say, man, you open yourself up to criticism. Hey, I don't care about critics. If I cared about what critics say, I would have been doomed a long time ago. You know, look, I served 2 years in Vietnam in combat. Tet 68, I was in Hue. And I saw more young men lose their lives in those 30 days, from January 31st to the end of mid-March, when that city was under siege. Yeah. They were firing live bullets. I got hit by one of them. So I've been hit by live bullets. What you all are doing, what they do in the media, is just kids play. When I mean, in the scheme of things, you all are not firing live bullets. We've been tested under fire. We can stand the heat. And Mr. Rickett, you should be able to stand the heat as well. And you should stand before the people of your town and my town, toe to toe, unedited, unfiltered, look in the cameras and debate the people and debate me, so that the people of this community can make an informed decision about voting. So I ask you all to vote for me, C Jack Ellis, for mayor. Early voting starts the 5th, which is tomorrow. It runs through the 11th, and election day is the 15th. Please, ma'am, please, sir, get on the phone. Call your friends, call your neighbors, call everybody you know, and tell them to go vote. Everybody you know, everywhere you go. Ask him to vote Jack Ellis for mayor.
With a real plan, one that he came up with on his own. He didn't have a bunch of
I don't have paid consultants.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, I just had a question, because we haven't discussed it yet. With everything going on, so much stuff in the news, from Edward Snowden to this, that, and the other. D.C. shootings, just one yesterday. The government shutdown. What is your view on their bickering and?
Well, obviously, I don't think it serves any of us well to have a shutdown of our government, because you're affecting people. It's not just a shutdown for them. To people, it's real. It's their paychecks. It's their livelihood. It's putting bread on the table for their families. And so I try to concern myself. I always like to think globally, but I act locally. Chip O'Neill was so right when he said all politics is local. So whatever they're doing in Washington is one thing, but the most important thing is what are we doing locally to make this a better place for all of our citizens. I would encourage, I've sent the president a letter, encourage him not to give in to these right-wingers, these severe right-wingers. I don't mean, I have good Republican friends. Saxby Chambliss is a good friend of mine. He's a Republican. But I mean these ultra-conservative right-wingers who are dead set on making sure that this man's policies fail. I say to them, knock it off. Knock it off. And I say to the president to lead. We elected you to lead. Now lead. And you lead from the front. Yes, communicate with people, but don't go back on your principles. There should be always some compromise. If you read the Profile in Courage that President Kennedy wrote some time ago, read that book. It tells you about compromises, but it also tells you about how you have to stand on your principles at times. And that's where we are right now. We're at loggerheads, but people are suffering, so you all must find a way to relieve the suffering of the people.
Wow. Mr. Mayor, God bless you. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
I know you got a long campaign to still
That's
go.
Right.
I mean,
that's right.
Voting starts tomorrow.
Start tomorrow.
Early voting.
Yes. We have a fundraiser this evening out on
there.
Masseyville Road. Masseyville Road, and I tell you what, I consider all you guys friends of mine.
Thank you.
And I'm going to
consider you the same.
And when I say friends, because
I
I don't have enemies. Maybe I have enemies, but I personally, maybe there are people that see me as an enemy, but I don't see anybody as an enemy. The last enemy I had an M16 rifle in my hand, and I was trying to kill him, and they were the Viet Cong. And as I found out later, I've gone back to Vietnam on several occasions on vacation since that time. They're very good people. I hate that I was trying to kill them, and I hate that 59,000 of my fellow young men, 18, 19, 20, 21 years of age, never had a chance at life. I hate that Robert McNamara, Lyndon B. Johnson, and the others perpetuated that big lie about the Gulf of Tonkin and about the domino theory and how the communists were coming in our back doors if we didn't go 9,000 miles and kill these people who only wanted to have rights for their self-determination. So I say that to those people, I hate that I was killing them. And I'm glad they didn't kill me. But I hate that the 59,000, a lot of them I know, names are on that wall in Washington, D.C., died for nothing.
Yeah, so I guess you need to get rid of, I guess the thing is basically try to have friends instead of enemies. especially because you know about the cyberbullying and want to know. Someone asked, "What about the Facebook page, the Go Away C Jack Facebook page, just another form of cyberbullying?"
Well, you see, you can't control that. Those are cowards. People gonna always do that. Those are people that just all they do is hate. They need to get a life. That's what they need to do. Just get a life and get things like that out of their heart and start finding ways that we can work together to make the city a better place rather than trying to hate on me, because it's not going to do you any good to hate on me. You're not going to stop me. The only thing, they tried to stop me. Bullets have tried to stop me. Live bullets. The segregations tried to stop me. They told me what I couldn't do and where I couldn't go, where I couldn't sit, what you can't say. All that nonsense. That's behind us. Let's look to the future together. And if you don't want to do that, like Terry Turner say, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way, because we have work to do in this time.
Yeah, get the hell out of the way, baby. We're gonna make history again, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you, and we're going to make a difference. That's the most important thing.
I hope
that
I'll be able to work with you, whether it's a sheriff's deputy or a film industry.
Well, I look forward to it. I really do.
Ladies
look forward
and
to working
gentlemen,
with
the
all of you.
Honorable Mr. Mayor, I'm going to say it.
All right, I salute
Jack Ellis.
Yes.
you. God bless
C
each and
Jack
every one of
Ellis.
you.
Thank
God bless
you,
our
brother.
city.
God bless you.
Okay.
And,
And I still say, I used to work for Jesse Jackson, 88, our manager's campaign, and I still hold on to one phrase: keep hope alive. Never give up hope. Never give up hope.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. God bless you.
Thank you.
And we'll be back.
We'll be back.